Yeah. How's that? Can you hear me, everybody?
Yep.
How's that? Clear down the back? All right. Right. How about we just have a little word of prayer before I begin to share a few things about New Start? Okay. Father, I just pray for your blessing on the things that I share as I share part of my story and journey, and a few things, specific things that I feel will be a blessing to some of the people here and maybe those watching that can help optimise and even supercharge the health. There's a lot of things out there, different ideas out there in the world about regarding health and what to do to improve it. But I pray that what I share today will be unique according to your design laws, your protocols of life that fits in the blueprint. You know how we run, you know how we operate our bodies and what's best for us. And we thank you for that, Father, and we thank you for all the blessings that you give us. And so may this be a blessing, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm just wondering if we can bring that down so the people online can...
Yeah, I'd really like the camera to get that,
Yeah.
because I'm going to be sharing quite a few slides.
Would it be okay with you advancing back in?
I can use that. I wasn't sure how to
It's good now.
Side door.
Side door as well, eh?
Maybe just put the brick there.
Doesn't want to work. Okay.
That's
cool.
fine.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get a shadow.
Is that better or more?
I'll be the shadow.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that now.
Oh, it should be a lamp.
You got that in?
Can they read it?
Correct. I can read it.
Okay.
You should good, mate.
Well, I can't read the bottom part.
Anyways, you guys can sort that out and I'll
Yep.
just go through. So, as you can see from the subtitles, proven ways to supercharge your health. So, who's this geared for? So basically today I want to share some powerful health tips that I've discovered over the years. And those of you, this is for those of you here, and I know some of you still experience health challenges. So I think this will be good for you, some of the things that I'm going to share. And also those that are blessed with good genetics, good genes, you're quite robust in your health and you can seem to get away with a lot of violations of New Start. By the way, let me just go back to New Start. Who knows what the New Start acronym stands for? N for nutrition,
Just write it on the board.
E for... Let's just go fast forward and I'll show you.
You write it on the whiteboard.
Just write it on the
Here we
whiteboard.
are. There it is.
It is. He's written it up.
There we go. N for nutrition, E for exercise, W for water, S for sunshine, T for temperance, A for air, R for rest, and T for trust, which is a big one, which was what Colin was sharing this morning with the previous presentation about trusting in the great physician, isn't it? For healing. And so the Bible and health, just want to share a few verses. Psalm 139 verse 14, I'll praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. The way God's designed us, our bodies, all the systems, the nervous system, the digestive system, the circulatory system, and the adrenal system, and endocrine system, and all these different glands and things in the body are quite fearfully and wonderfully made. And as someone said during the week, beloved, I pray and that you may prosper and above all be in health. So, and whatever you do, do all to the, what is it? The glory of God. You're familiar with these texts. And what does God do? He heals, builds and restores, doesn't he? What does the devil do? He wants to destroy and break down. One of the ways he does it is through breaking down health as well, and influencing people's decisions. So we just looked at that. Now the two elements of New Start, or known as Nature's 8 Doctors, Anybody heard that term? So if you could encapsulate nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest and trust and put it in little capsules and stock the pharmacies, do you think it would sell pretty good? It'd be just clearing off the shelves, wouldn't it? People, it's so convenient and easy to swallow a pill, isn't it? And even go to health food stores and now it's like the nutraceuticals. Oh, I'll just get this or that. I'm not saying all supplements are bad, I'm just saying there's this tendency sometimes to overlook the fundamentals, the dynamics, and go for these other things. Yeah, for quick fixes. The thing that I want to focus on today is air and trust. You might be thinking, what's air? We just open the windows and let the fresh air in at night. But I'm actually going to be talking something a little bit more specific than air coming in the windows at night and not sleeping in a coffin with the windows closed. You know, so these are very basic principles, and most of you are familiar with the basics. So I want to take these things further. And as I say later in my talk, and it's kind of like biohacking in the New Start. You know, out there I have a confession, I have sort of like a mild to moderate obsession with health, inquiring information and listening to podcasts on health and reading what I could find. And anyways, so there's different things out there on health and different ideas about breathing. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. And then I'm going to share a little bit about why I had this passion or this interest in health. It's part of my own story. And my own journey of recovery. And like some of you here, I'm a work in progress. I might just share this now that, yeah, we all are in God's workshop. Physical, and I'm talking about the restoration of the whole person, the physical, the mental and the spiritual, the psychological, the emotional. About 25 years ago plus, I started experiencing major health challenges with inflammation in my digestive system, in the gut, which led to chronic fatigue, led to depression. Fatigue was the main thing, but inflammation in the body, oxidative stress, all these things, mineral depletion, where it was so bad that I couldn't work for quite a while. And it was very humiliating because I lost interest in a lot of things that as healthy people we enjoy in life. And the more healthy people are, they seem to, you know,
happier,
embrace and have the energy to do things. And unless you've been in that place, it's hard to really convey that and share what it's like to be really, really sick and run down. And my body was just caving in, and it was terrible. It was really, really difficult place. I went to one doctor and he felt that I didn't have very long to live at all. And and that was years ago. And so I thought, no, I had this determination and a strong determination and persistence. I said, no, I'm going to recover. Because I'll just back up. I went to several physicians. I went to several naturopaths, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. And I tried many different miracle supplements and anything under the sun. I've tried it, you name it. I've done all sorts of detoxification protocols, herbs, rotation diets, specific carbohydrate diets, low FODMAPs diets, juice, cleansing, detoxification, mono diets, what else? Yeah, eliminated gluten and all the basic things like that, you know, and bentonite clay and all sorts of radical things, many different things. So anybody that's been down that path will know what I'm saying. That there's, I just had this desperation. I've got to get through this. I want to live. I want to enjoy life and want to experience better health. Excuse me. And so during that journey, you learn a lot on the way, and you learn from trial and error. And so it cost me a lot of time, financially and emotionally. It was very difficult. So that just gives you a big picture of the story of where I'm coming from. Now, my health's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was, and part of my career, my career is I'm a remedial massage therapist, so it's kind of like a case of physician heal thyself, because I was helping other people, but now I have the energy to work and help a lot of people with muscular tendon problems, and I do specialise in muscle manipulative therapy, so realigning tendons and things like that in the body, and helping getting structural balance. So that's really enjoyable. I enjoy doing that, and during that time, while I've been doing this over 10 years, I've realised that there's a lot of customers where the aches and pains are not just physical. It's not just because of knots, tight muscles, and so forth. There's this. There's a psychosomatic component, right? There's a mind-body connection, and a lot of the times, well, when I say a lot, I see about 30 people a week. And it's not unusual to have someone come in where it's more than just there's more than just physical causes to their muscular pain. Had one fellow, give you an example, a tradie last week, and short version anyway, had this pain, acute pain. It was really, really severe. I won't go into all the details, but it traced back to personal loss. An issue. Dr. Horst Mueller. Who's heard of Dr. Horst Mueller?
Yeah.
He's ENT, and I'm jumping ahead about this. But he says that out of treating thousands of people, oftentimes the foundation of their problems in the body is because of a value issue, personal loss. And doesn't have to be. Everybody experiences loss at times. It's when it becomes personal, he believes that disrupts the energetic flow in the body. He calls it electricity with his Romanian accent, speaking English. The electricity of the body. Some people call it the frequency or the vibration of the body. Ellen White talks about that, about the electricity, we're electrical beings, and to explain what that means, from the brain there's trillions or millions of little connections down through the nervous system of the body, like tree branches, and so there's the thoughts have a vibrational effect on the body. The New Agers know that. They say, well, love, has a high vibration, what they term as love. Hate, shame, jealousy has a very low vibrational charge in the body. And I think there's an element of, I think that's true. And what, Adrian, you were talking about, you've brought out now the metaphysical and what people are thinking, how it's affecting the earth. And so we shouldn't just deny these things. This is based on science. There's the vibration of the body has a lot to do with health, and particularly the thoughts and emotions. And so Horst Mueller, that's the downside. On the upside, he's saying, well, really we need to be aware, people need to be aware of this principle, and I'll say it right now, that impacts the health negatively, and that's living in a mindset of giving to receive. Giving to receive. Which is a counterfeit of, does anybody know? Sounds alright, give to receive, but when you think of it, it's a counterfeit of receiving to give. And this is very important because the first 4 commandments, it's a law of life, a law of liberty. And what's that specifying? The first 4 commandments is about drawing from the source, who is our Father, isn't it? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Worship God, don't have idols. The first 4 commandments reveals the great source of all who we take from and receive from. If we're not drawing and receiving from the source of all, what or who are we going to draw from? Or depend on? People, things, and we become outcome dependent in that mindset of living under the mindset of giving to receive. It becomes dependent on the yes or no, or the approval or disapproval of others if people aren't drawing from God. And when I first heard that, I thought that I need to really tune into that and live by that principle of receiving from God. And I found that very liberating for me, and actually really life-changing, just that concept to settle into that. Does that make clear? Is that kind of clear? Yeah. And the giving to receive in the Bible, it's called the evil eye, which is the selfish mind. And the single eye is that this, how Horst Muller terms it, is the receiving to give. And in Desire of Ages 21, it says, this is the law of love, the law of life. Even Jesus, he received from the Father, didn't he? He received to give. He received all things from the Father. And the circuit of beneficence, you heard that term? And so this is a law of nature. This is in biology, in bacterial world, in the plant world, in the bees, pollination, in the ocean, in the clouds, all this. And this is a very important principle that I think is unique to Father's design law. So, nutrition. I just want to go over the basics. Behold, I've given you every plant bearing, every plant yielding seed for food. Jesus is bread of life. So I was thinking, giving gratitude too for a new start, to be really grateful for these things. Exercise. God is active. His word is associated with God's righteous actions, the Hebrew mind. A few verses there about exercise, we need it. Now I'm going to go through these things again and sort of unpack it a little bit more. So these are just basics. Jesus imparts the water of life. You can read those verses. The living water. The sunshine. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. And Jesus is the what? Light of the world. And then we come to temperance. True temperance teaches us to dispense entirely everything hurtful, to use judiciously that which is healthful. This is what out there many people don't understand. Oh, just a little bit of this, I'm not talking about sugar, white flour. I'm talking about nicotine and things like that. These are the problem things we should have nothing to do with at all, because they're not helpful for the body. Then there's air. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground, breathed into his what? Mouth or nostrils? Nostrils, the breath of life. Became a living soul, the spirit of life in Christ Jesus. So, breath equals life. Job, for as long as life is in me and the breath of God is in my what? I'm going to talk about this a little bit down further on in this. It's really important about breathing, but we'll get there. Rest. Rest, digest, it's a good healer, isn't it? Rest. When someone this morning, they said, I'm just going to go back and indulge in some lovely rest. A bit more. Bless her. Yeah. We need that rest. We need to listen to the body, especially when we've got a lot of hard life with lots to do and so forth. Take time to rest. Like that line. Just resting.
I wish we'd have a rest.
It won't be very restful when you confront something like that, but anyway. Now this just goes back to what I was saying earlier, the law of love, just so there's a slide on that, a few of my thoughts. Trust, appreciation of God through a correct knowledge of his character calms down the sympathetic nervous system. Helps us to maintain an attitude of gratitude and a sense of love and belonging. So, anybody want to read that?
My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are the life of those who find them and the health of one's whole body. When it's that's all right. So it should be. When it seems, for whatever reason, you start. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't even be reading that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
That's good to read.
that's. I'm honoured.
I
Yeah.
was on your stuff for a while. Yeah.
You still?
Thanks, Mark, for that. It's not working then. Health and wellness can biohack a little bit further. Need to look closer. Now, this is an interesting verse, isn't it?
Yeah.
See thou hurt not the oil and the wine. I want to talk a little bit about oils. Because in my experience, and I've read all different opinions on this, but I believe some oils are damaging the way they're processed. A lot of the polyunsaturated oils. Now, this is just my subjective opinion. You can take it or leave it. There's science, there's different things on this. I'm just from the information I'm gathering. Is that all right? Give me permission just to share.
Safe place, Jeff.
Totally. So, I had a conversation with someone about a month ago, and she showed me some articles by a man called Ray Peat. And I read through those, and he's looking at stuff under the microscope. So I'm just putting it out there about the damage that some of these oils cause in the body. And recently I heard Dr. Tim Jennings, and he's starting to get into things like the aging brain and into the physical aspects of optimizing health. And it was very interesting because he talked about AGEs, about advanced glycation end products and these kind of things, and about the damaging effect of these oils. It's not just that they're pressed, some of them, it's because of the oxidation is becoming a problem. Now again, if you've got super good genes and good health, then these things may not concern you, but if those that are less robust constitutions, you might want to think about these things, about the oils that you're consuming in your diet. Because personally I feel better by dropping out some of these damaging oils, and for me coconut oil and olive oil works better. Now it's just food for thought to have a think about. And the other thing Tim Jennings talked about was, and this might sound fanatical, but I'm just putting it out there, and he said too much browning of food causes glycation, and it turns the food into, especially if it's deep fried and really browned, overground, it can cause glycation, a process. Now, I'm not a scientist, I may not be explaining this perfectly, but it's creating an inflammatory or oxidative, a condition in the body that's not healthful. And so just something to be mindful. This man here is an interesting story, and I want to share it. It's the last minute I thought I'll drop this in. Andreas. So I heard his story on a podcast. He was a world famous gymnast and did gymnastics. He's German. And he got gold medal, silver medal, but that's power position performance. It's not my emphasis. Just it's an interesting fact. Because of the steroids, the pain suppressors of having to train 6 hours a day, they push those people, gymnasts in Germany and Russia. He ended up in hospital, and his body was just packing in and caving in. And you know what? After 6 weeks, they gave up on him. They said, "We don't know what to do." The German physicians. He's just, he was in pain, so much pain, and they're giving him all this medication. A friend of his, like the Good Samaritan kind of thing, that he came in and he brought in fresh pressed flaxseed oil, not the stuff you get in the health shop, but just he's an engineer, had a little press, he'd just press it, and he'd give it to him and he'd consume it. And he had Crohn's disease, by the way. If you know Crohn's disease, it's not very fun. I had something similar, terminal ileitis, so I can identify people with Crohn's disease. It's not fun. In 6 weeks, he was free of pain and got over the whole thing. And so I thought it's interesting that, and he did a lot of research on oils, and he said and he rang different companies in Germany, and he said that their expeller presses, the way they produce the so-called cold-pressed oil, it was still damaging that flax oil, because he said when you're grinding a seed, it's forcing oxygen into the seed oil, and that's why it has to be refrigerated, and it goes rancid very quickly. If you've ever bought flaxseed, it's got to go in the fridge. He's produced an oil that actually has a flax oil that has a shelf life of 2 years outside of refrigeration. So anybody that likes omega-3, and I know there's a process of converting it, and some say you should have fish oil, all this, but I'm just wanting to keep this simple. Of those of you that are more vegetarian and don't want to have fish oils, this is just something you might want to look out for. Andreas oils, very interesting. And he puts it in Miron glass, very dark glass, and he says that helped his recovery tremendously. And I just thought it was an interesting story, and how his friend came in and helped him, the engineer. Now he developed his own oils. But again, your standard flax, there's this oxidation, this problem. So just think about oils. I want to talk a bit about exercise. That I've found that just going for a long walk doesn't really help me, and I used to do a lot of that for years. And then a friend shared a video it was a little thing from Compass, a program on TV, and they were talking about interval training or high intensity. So what I find now, I'm working on my fitness, and I think it's improved quite a bit, and I've got a long way to go. I've only been starting this a month or two ago. I say and go 8 seconds flat out on a stationary bike, an exercise bike, 8 seconds flat out, and then 12 seconds you just slow up. And then 8 seconds like that, really fast, and then 12 slow. So you're alternating. Do that for 20 minutes, about 3 times a week. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cells, is going to go up, young and old folk. And it's a safe way of doing it, rather than going out there jogging and jarring your joints. So you can do this on a cell sizer, which I like to use. It's a really good rebounder. Some of you might be familiar with it, but it's not some of your rebounders are not good for the joints and you can do damage. So the cheaper option is just an exercise bike
Can you
like
do it on a
that.
treadmill?
Maybe, yeah. And on this program, on this Compass, the host, the interview lady, they put her as a guinea pig, and she went pounding, running in a park, and then it showed her she sprained an ankle and it's, like that. And but then they had her on an exercise bike later, and they tested these people. They drew blood and they actually measured their mitochondria and their change of the muscle. They actually took little biopsies, and their muscle fibres got big. And for the elderly people, their skin firmed up, tightened up, and became plumper. So the layer underneath the superficial skin, it actually got bigger and didn't get rid of all their wrinkles, but it became nice and youthful, about 10 years younger. Interval training, so not just a long, moderate walk. Get 8 seconds, check with your doctor, 8 seconds flat out, 12 seconds you slow down, 8 seconds on the bike like that, then you go slow. It's very good. Pardon?
I think that's a lot of 8 seconds in 20 minutes.
You can.
You build up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm fitter than I realise. But
Doesn't have to be exact.
try 10 minutes. Yeah.
So do another 10 minutes later.
Baby steps.
Baby steps to begin with. All right. Yeah. This is the first. Next time I present this, I'll get it together more.
You're doing well.
I actually. Yeah. Anyway,
You're doing fine.
reapply water. So anyway, we all know about water. That's foregone conclusion.
Can I just say something about water? And please
Go for
correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that the filtered water that you buy is so filtered that it hasn't got the minerals in it anymore. And they don't add the minerals back into it, so the body doesn't recognise it as water.
Well, there's distilled water, which is probably doesn't have any. Anyway, look, the jury's out on there. I think just self-experiment
Yeah.
and look at the science, look at the evidence, and see if it fits in design more. So there's so many divided opinions on water. I'm not going to really comment on it. But look, I just found the Lord has shown me, because I like to type, I like to get on my computer after work, and the Father's shown me just be aware of not overexposure to this blue light, particularly in the evening. Because when I went away, I had conversations with a friend, and we just lit a candle at night in our conversations, and it was good. And I felt my body needed just to detach a little bit from tablets and iPhones and blah, blah, blah. Because there's a lot of research coming out now with depression, and it's because of overexposure to the blue light, which is your artificial lights from gadget. Danny. Yeah.
I just want to say that I work a lot on the computer.
Yeah.
Since I downloaded an app, there's a few different ones.
Yes.
One I use is Flux.
Yes.
And it blocks,
Yeah, I use that too.
blocks the blue light.
Good.
Oh, it's so nice on your eyes. I really recommend anybody.
Zoom it.
There's also apps for your phone.
That's right.
And they block the blue lights, and it's just so it makes it the experience of using a computer much more pleasant.
Yes, and good thing,
Flux.
Lux, Flux, and
It's not just the computer lights either, it's these things as well.
Fluoro,
Yeah.
LED.
Oh, they've actually got the blue light blocking glasses. They wrap around.
yeah. They're sort of amber colour.
Yeah, the amber colour. They
Yeah.
wrap around, and my doctor, who's Greg Emerson, who the Treat the Cause clinic, a number of people go to,
Uh-huh.
he says that once you get home in the afternoon, I should have those glasses on until I go to bed.
Yeah.
Because it does terrible things to your mitochondria, this blue light.
And research this, because there's reams of published articles now showing that the link between mood disorders and other health disorders with circadian rhythms, the way the body operates at night with the sleep, and the association between that and this artificial light. So that's another way.
Thyroid problems come from it too with the
Yeah. And so getting out, this one it's under sunshine, getting the morning light is very beneficial.
Just checking on, are you saying that all blue light is bad all the time, or like blue light in the morning as a pickup?
Well, the blue,
All the
It's a blue,
time?
it's a blue filter.
Yeah, I've got a blue light monitor.
Yeah.
But I understood that not all blue light was good at certain times of the day, but at
Yeah.
other times it wasn't.
yeah.
I
and
was in the evening.
well, when the sun goes down, it's
Yes.
nature's way of saying
That's-
rest.
Yeah, right.
And don't trick the body by still thinking
Yes.
it's daylight,
Yeah.
because then you're not going to get melatonin
Yes,
production.
that's
the
what
sleep
I understood.
hormone. Yeah. So anyway,
Once in a blue.
so where are we? Now I want to talk about breathing.
Jeff, can
Yeah.
I just take you back to the sunlight for a minute?
Yes, sure.
When you say soak in the morning sun,
Uh-huh.
just go into a bit more depth. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Okay, you go in out and get the sunlight in your eyes,
Without
and
sunglasses and
I'm talking about sun up. You know, when
Talking on
it's
the
very
You take your glasses off.
You can't wear your glasses.
take your glasses off,
Do
and
you look straight? You don't look straight at the sun because I saw a documentary about someone looking straight at the sun for 45 minutes.
yeah.
And there's people that do this and they don't eat and they
Too
live
much
off.
of a good thing.
It's ridiculous.
Good thing we're putting out parameter caveats here and cautions, which is good. So
Early morning that makes a difference.
a lot of this is common sense, really. And
Are you advocating nude sunbathing? 10 minutes
there's someone here that
No
mentioned,
demonstrations, please.
mentioned he does it, but I think he's way up in Emerald
Fairly serious.
Oh, sorry. We can't tell.
with acres, no neighbours, no close neighbours. Yeah, look, that's good too. If you're in a home where you have privacy or your backyard, whatever, just expose your body. The more, the better. And yeah, it's good.
I reckon if they got nothing better to look at.
Anyway, look, I want to keep on track because I've got a lot to share, and this discussion's good, but just allow me to keep on track here.
Just a word of warning, no longer than 20 minutes. You'll get burnt.
Yeah. So this is just bite-sized bits. You do the rest of the research, and you know, it's common sense in these applications, but it's good that we, aware of the misapplication you start as well, like. So
Jeff, everything they're saying about the early morning sunrise has been scientifically proven by Bill Medley and the depression recovery.
yeah, I'm familiar with that program. Yeah.
That is absolutely part of
Yes.
supporting depression recovery.
Absolutely, and it's a precursor for tryptophan, you know, the amino acid to produce serotonin, blah blah.
Yeah.
And so, oh,
Can you repeat you so I can hear you?
Yeah, it's just for recording though. Yeah, I don't know if it's bumped or if the battery's going flat, so we'll just keep an eye.
okay. Buteyko breathing, breath and health is very, very important. And so something that I've been learning recently, come back to revisit, is about the problems of mouth breathing. And there's a reason for that. And so Buteyko, he's a Russian doctor, and he discovered, which I'm going to show you further on, the science behind this, that mouth breathing is problematic for several reasons. And God's designed the nose not just as a filter and not just to warm the air we breathe, but it has several functions for the blood and oxygenation of the body. And it's very, very important that we think about the way we breathe during the day and during night, how we're sleeping, when there's repair at night. So if a person's breathing incorrectly during the day, going to be breathing incorrectly at night. So let me put this to you, just as an experiment. Have a deep breath. Yeah, just have a deep breath. Was it heavy or was it gentle? Was it from the chest or was it from diaphragm?
Diaphragm, is that deep,
Usually it's from the chest, and it's quick, and it's heavy, and it's noisy. I could all hear you. Well, this is what I was always taught that was good. But what I've been learning in the spiritual, there's a lot of things that I've been taught where it's really the opposite to ideal and design. Now, Buteyko, this Russian doctor that was treating thousands of asthmatics in Russia, and now it's being used internationally, worldwide, he's saying we actually need to breathe less and gentler and have developed more breath hunger. And so instead of breathing from the chest, we need to breathe from the diaphragm, or at least the diaphragm included. Instead of breathing deep, we need to breathe gentler. Instead of breathing quicker, we need to breathe slower. When someone's hyperventilated, they're breathing very quick and they're very heavy. Asthmatics, they're in this vicious cycle of hunger for air, and they're like that. I'm not an asthmatic, but I'm just going by observation and what asthmatics are telling me, and the people that have recovered from asthma, that it's this laboured, heavy breathing. Now, there's a problem with that because they're breathing out too much carbon dioxide. And maybe I should just go through this, and I want to come back to this and explain this about the breathing, because it's very, very important. So, getting the REM sleep 2 hours before midnight, if you can, if possible, at least an hour, is helpful, beneficial. We depend on lights, but think about how much light, artificial light, we're using in the evening. Interesting, in Revelation it says they have no rest day or night. Those that worship the beast in his image and follow this system. And it's talking about spiritual rest, rest of the soul, but just an application I thought of, rest is important. So, trusting in divine power. The law of worship, we're designed to worship. People might deny trust in divine power. But if you're an atheist and you get sick, sometimes it's short-circuiting. The body ends up with problems because they don't have a source. They're not trusting in the source. They're not receiving to give. So they're giving to receive. They're living with the evil eye, survival of the fittest mentality, dependent on things and their own gods or themselves. And it's creating, when rubber meets the road, when they lose a spouse or something like that, they've got no one to turn to. So this source is very important. Everyone worships or values something, and we become like whatever we value, admire and focus on. So that's an important aspect. Rethinking trust in divine power, and just maybe if you haven't seen Dr. Horst Mueller on the Law of Life, Google it. You can watch all his YouTubes. It's very interesting. And unnourishing concepts of God that stand in our way create fear, subsequently guilt, shame, disease in the body. For example, a legal penal view of a cosmic dictator punishing God, which I've been talking about this. The problem with that, in a physical sense, it actually switches on the fear circuitry of the brain and secretes health-damaging hormone molecules, and like adrenaline and cortisol. And subtle ongoing state of fight or flight is sustained. So Dr. Tim Jennings, who's a psychiatrist, he's noticed a lot of that in his patients, that those that come in to see him that have an unhealthy, unnourishing concept of God, it can impact their health very negatively. So praise God, we have a good God. There's no darkness in him.
What's SD?
Yep. That's sympathetic dominance, which is fight or flight. Sympathetic dominance of the nervous system.
Just for the viewers.
What does it mean?
Sympathetic dominance. when the body goes from the parasympathetic state of calmness, rest, digest, homeostasis, when it goes into fight or flight, everything's switched on, and fear is associated with the adrenaline, with the unrestfulness of the body. Yeah, sympathetic dominance. And that can be even influenced by different stresses in the body, like even the dental occlusion, actually. It's interesting, because I have a friend that's a dentist, and I'm going to show a picture of him in a minute, but he does a lot of work with the jaw and with the correcting people's airways and neck problems just by correcting the jaw. It's very interesting because through there runs the vagus nerve, and that's connected to a lot of different organs of the body, and he gets a lot of people that are really wound up because they have jaw problems. And so this is getting very specific and sort of narrowing down, and some of this will be irrelevant to many of you perhaps, but for some people it's very important to be aware of these things. And for me it was a big part of my healing journey was dealing with jaw issues. So 9/10 of diseases originate in the mind, and the bit I want to underscore is, what's this say? The erroneous doctrines also as that of an eternally burning hell and an endless torment of the wicked, that by giving exaggerated, distorted views of the character of God have produced the same result in sensitive minds. Interesting, isn't it? So, won't read those quotes. Consciousness of right doing, well-nourished, healthy brain, life-giving power of cheerfulness, unselfishness and gratitude. I've shared my story, so I'm going to bypass that. Buteyko. I just write way too much. Benefits. So there's the benefits of breathing through the nose can influence thousands kilometres of blood vessels throughout the body. It can influence the amount of oxygen that's delivered to your cells. You can open up and decongest the nose. You can open up the lower airways and achieve a state of calmness and reduce anxiety. How you breathe as a child determines how you look for the rest of your life. You know that? So when you breathe from the upper chest, when you're stressed, that's what happens. Your breathing gets noisier, not quieter. So share my experience. Asthma, very common with mouth breathers.
Be difficult with sinus issues too, to breathe through the nose.
Yeah, and there's ways of helping to unblock the nose, and it's like they do this after breath hold. So I'm not going to show you all the ins and outs of Buteyko, how to do it, the how to, but I'm just saying there's methods of breathing that have developed breath hunger and get the CO2 levels up and the oxygenation of the blood. So the benefits. Circulation, energy, sleep improved, and they're the big takeaways with breathing correctly. I'm going to show you a few pictures of me as a boy, and you'll see in the last 5 photos a bit of a pattern, and I want you to see if you can pick up what that pattern is. That's me as a baby, little boy, my sister. They're not very good photos, so it's me and my 2 sisters. Not too happy there. In view of what I've been saying, can any of you pick up the pattern? Any of you got a clue?
Your mouth's open.
I'm breathing through the mouth. And another reason I suspect I was a mouth breather is that I developed crooked teeth, which I've had straightened with an appliance. But it's just interesting to see the correlation. A lot of dentists and orthodontists, not a lot, some of them. For example, John Flutter in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane. He's lectured over 65 countries in the world. And he used to pull teeth and put braces. He says, I no longer do that. He says, because of the problems it creates. But he says the single most important thing to teach a child is to breathe through the nose. Because the tongue puts pressure on the roof of the mouth. And actually that pressure that it exerts actually develops the maxilla and the formation of the face. Did you know that? That's really fascinating. Pardon?
That guy Weston Price did research on
Yeah, I've got some pictures actually of twins, and some of them that have been mouth breathers and the others that haven't. Or they've had, some of them had traditional orthodontics and those that have had alternative to that. So, dry mouth, lack of energy, sympathetic dominance, facial structure, sleep apnea, snoring. These are, I'm getting back to the breathing, this is the problems, and airway infections. So that's a quote by John Flutter. He says, I no longer pull teeth or instill braces. And there you go. So, breathe through the nose. Orthodontic narrow dental arch, a chronic mouth breather rarely has enough room for the full set of adult teeth to come through. So, dental form and more importantly the function. So, I want to show you a picture. 6-year-old who is a severe mouth breather, and on the left got a nice rounded face, a natural smile look, and that's the consequences of mouth breathing. This boy here, he had a little pet gerbil when he was 10, and then when he was 14 he developed problems with the occlusion. You can see the jaws dropping, the chin is receding, and that's because he had this allergic reaction to the pet. Just thought you'd find that interesting. That Laurel is some of the work of Weston Price, and this is how good nutrition can create good wide jaws in people, and poor nutrition can develop narrow arches and dental collapse there.
These are good or bad, these pictures?
They're good.
Okay.
They're good, yeah.
Can you just give a little context?
Yeah, they had natural foods, and like what Weston Price would say was primitive diet, which was unrefined food. They didn't have white flour and sugar. But when they started consuming the white sugar and the white flour, they started to develop all sorts of problems with their dental architecture, and dental decay correlated. So, want to show that picture. That girl on the left, she had teeth pulled in traditional orthodontics. Girl on the right, she had something like this thing, which has put a little lever in it, and it expands and it opens up her bite, so it released the muscles in her face and allowed the teeth to straighten naturally.
Can that be done as an adult, or it has to be done during?
As an adult.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be done as an adult.
Is that your